Hello and welcome to another episode of Showboys. My name is Mike and I am joined by my fabulous co-host Jordan and a special guest co-host Mick Manhattan of the Scene Snobs. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Nice. So if you're tuning in to the live stream tonight, it's Sunday, so that means that you're here for the Falcon and Winter Soldier companion series. If you're not tuning into the live stream, what are you doing with your life? Every Sunday night, 9 p.m., we're here talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, breaking down the most recent episode. What did you guys, overall, general thoughts on the episode as a whole before we really get into the recap and breakdown? We'll start with our esteemed guest who's rocking the amazing Captain America water bottle. And it looks like a few bobbleheads.
My two little Captain Americas, like literally as you were doing the bumper, I ran right over and grabbed it.
Nice.
I was like, why did I have this? And I have Sam, but he's not in this room. So I was like, I can't make it that far.
Nice. I like the water bottle. It's pretty sweet.
Thanks, man. Captain America, I love it. So, and I love Sam as Captain America. But I will tell you, this episode, I've loved the series so far. I know you've covered the first 4 episodes. This episode has been by far my favorite. And so far on the Marvel TV shows, for the most part, this has been one of my favorite shows. And this episode has just nailed it down on all fronts.
Yes. I would agree that this episode was a very strong one. There's a lot going on. Last week really brought it, but this one took it up a level. Really enjoyed it. I thought there was some really what's the word I'm looking for? There's some really deep things that were, discussed. Obviously, a lot to deal with, race. The struggle that our African American friends have gone through. The struggle that Sam, has in his conversation with Isaiah about really, accepting the shield and taking the mantle of Captain America, which we'll dig into later. There's kind of a lot of heavy stuff here. I mean, even a little, touching a little bit on how veterans are treated, even, as heinous as the actions of John Walker, but the way that he just kind of was completely dismissed by the committee there. Rightfully so, maybe in some degree, because he straight up smashed a dude's face in with a shield. But should his entire service just be completely discredited because maybe, one terrible act? I don't know. A lot to get into there. But Jordan, what were you feeling after you watched this episode?
I was feeling good. This episode, I think, the last episode as well, but a lot of the things we talked early on are continuously coming to fruition, especially for the outcome of John Walker and his, it's like his denial that he's no longer Captain America anymore, and really seeing the birth of the U.S. agent beyond who he currently is. And they're setting up it feels like they're setting up a couple of future stories, whether that'll be in TV shows or movies. But we'll definitely get into that, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know if you have been following along, Mick, or any listener out there, but especially in episode 0 of the companion series, we just went on a wild speculation train and just made a bunch of crazy predictions. Pretty much everything Jordan has predicted has come to light. I really only made one prediction, and it was completely unfounded in any sort of evidence at all, and still continues to be so. And I'm just disappointed every single week, just looking in every corner of every scene, trying to find anything to tie my crazy theory together. And I've come up empty. And if you're wondering what my crazy theory is, Mick, I decided to proclaim that this series, the events of Falcon and Winter Soldier, we're going to directly tie into Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, with somehow the Mandarin and the Ten Ring terrorist organization coming into play as like maybe a big baddie of the series. And it hasn't happened, obviously. We have one episode left, though.
There's one more.
I'm not gonna lose all hope. We still have at least one episode.
I'll let you hold on to that hope, but I think that's a far stretch by this point because it's the last episode, and like we kind of know who's who.
Yeah. It's rough. I was hoping maybe the power broker would turn out to be Mandarin. We went to Madripoor, which the Mandarin kind of has hung out in the past. Just the fact that the Ten Rings are set up as a terrorist organization in this world, and that's one of the only, like, I shouldn't say one of the only, but one of the earthly threats that a team like Sam and Bucky can handle that hasn't really been fully explored yet. It's just been sprinkled in a couple Iron Man movies and even a reference in like an Ant-Man movie here or there. It's something that I was kind of looking forward to. Maybe they would dive into that because it's an interesting story. But one episode left. I got my fingers crossed, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I think I'm ready to count this as a big old L.
Yeah, like we said last time, is the further we get away from Madripoor, the further we get away from the theory, right?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, let's get into the recap here. We start out the episode with John Walker fleeing the scene of his heinous crime. He runs into an abandoned warehouse, and he just kind of goes through like these flashbacks of Lamar and all these conversations the two of him had, especially of him like, always making the right decision in the heat of battle. And, it didn't really seem like that actually happened when John Walker was doing his best Gallagher impersonation in Town Square there with the shield. But, right before Sam and Bucky walk in, he quotes Lamar, time to go to work. And you can tell at this point, Walker is, as unhinged as he's been throughout the series, like this is total, like he's gone. He's kind of lost it. He's snapped. And he tries to justify his actions to Sam and Bucky. And doesn't want to give up the shield, and you can see Jordan how he's like in that denial phase where he doesn't. He's like, no, I'm Captain America. Like, and we have the fight that we've been waiting for all season between Sam and Bucky and John Walker. So, what you guys kind of think about this scene here? We'll start with Jordan since we started with Mick last time. What did you think about everything that happened here?
With a fight, right?
Yeah, just that whole thing, and like Walker's dealing with what he did and the conversation between the three. You can see reasoning kind of leaves both parties really quick because both parties have kind of wanted to fight each other since they met. And so as soon as that leaves, of course, you see the tussle happen, right? Mm-hmm. And it for some reason it kept bringing me back to Iron Man versus Winter Soldier and Captain America. It felt. I guess maybe just Bucky being in that situation again. It seems like he can never win, right?
when it's a situation, it should be an easy win, but I think the dialogue leading up to it was. I think Sam was really the only person who was hoping it wouldn't get to where it was, at least a little bit. But Bucky was ready to go, and John was obviously beyond unhinged and ready to go.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on this whole altercation here, Mick?
Oh, it was epic. I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic fight. I love the use of, just all their powers combined, like the wings and everything throughout the fight. Like, I loved that Bucky was taken out momentarily, and like it's still, because part of me and even my 9-year-old was like, shouldn't Bucky be able to just take him out? No
Right.
problem. And I was like, you would think that, but Bucky was never a tactician. Like, he was just an assassin. He was just trying to kill. And right now he's not trying to kill.
Right.
So he's trying to fight. And, he hasn't unleashed, really. Like, he can't. He doesn't feel like he can, is what I'm gathering from it. And so, he's still a great fighter. But John Walker is hardcore trained. Like, he is on the level of fighting that Captain was. Bucky Bucky to me never really was.
And if you look at the two characters, it's kind of funny, like John Walker seemed like ironically walked right out of combat into the Captain America role. Brought out of recent events, when you have Bucky who's trying to almost find a place of zen so he can get away from his assassin tendencies and deal with it.
And to your point, like I think we even touched on it last episode, like how cool it's been to see how they integrate Sam's like tech into these fights to make him like be able to stand a chance against these super soldiers that have super strength and stuff. I love all of the stuff that he does with his wings and his jetpack. But to your point, Jordan, I have down here in my notes that I've loved seeing the progression of Sam's character from even like when we first saw him, what was it? Age of Ultron or whatever Avengers movie, maybe it was Civil War. I don't remember. Whenever he first showed up, seeing his progression and like his maturity, happen, especially during the series. But he continues to be that voice of reason, like always, basically like channeling his inner Steve. Like being as similar to Steve as he can, while still like even like we talked last week about his conversation with Carly at the memorial or whatever. Like he still is his own person and has his own ideals, right? But he has that like voice of reason and I don't know, like calmness that Steve Rogers had. And it's just been really cool to see him like continue to grow as a character like that. But I loved how Walker, like it very much reminded me of Thanos when he's just like, I am Captain America, like I am inevitable, like this is like there is no avoiding this. This is what it is. And I also loved it when he just straight up rips Sam's wings off his suit. Being a Hawkman fan from DC, if that was Hawkman, he'd be like, ah, because, they're attached to him. And it kind of seemed like when Falcon got this ripped off, it's like he shut down a little bit. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know. I don't know why.
I got from that almost like the Rocky 3 moment when he loses to Clubber Lang.
Okay.
Like they didn't lose, but they lost something in this. Like Cap's the shield was tarnished, things like that. So like he had to walk away. Like when he told Joaquin, like, keep him, like he's done.
I love your guys's what you saw was way more in depth than me. I just felt like Sam felt like he got pantsed in front of everyone. No, they saw me get my wings ripped off.
Yeah, I got clipped.
Yeah.
neutered right in front of everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But the fight ends in dramatic style where everyone is quote unquote like knocked out, knocked back, knocked down. Bucky, leaves the shield at Sam's side and just pieces out. And we enter the next scene here where we're back at the GRC camp and Sam and Bucky, they're talking about how they or not Sam and Bucky, Sam and Torres, I should say, are talking about how they're unable to find Carly. They're having trouble tracking her down. Bucky was there, but he pieces out pretty quickly again. He does that a lot this episode. And Sam and Torres, they discuss the consequences of John Walker's actions. They talk about how, that since he straight up murdered someone on like foreign soil, the government's stepping in, they're kind of taking control. So Sam and Torres and Bucky, like they're kind of, put in the back seat, for now. They can't really do anything. They have their hands tied. And Sam takes a shield and leaves, and the whole time, like, he's got his clipped wings there in the bag on the table, and Torres, he's like, hey, you forgot your wings, and Sam's like, whatever, like, and just leaves. So, Jordan, here we go. Torres, he's gonna do his best human centipede impression and sew those wings onto his back and become the new Falcon.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't even catch that. Maybe that is kind of like a nod to who Torres could become, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Torres's wings are through the situation we were saying with the power broker in the comic, at least in the comics, his wings are El Natural. He actually grows the wings. Hopefully they don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the MCU go that route. Though, hey,
the power broker's around, so anything could happen.
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
But it never really took off in the comics.
I would love to see just like a straight up like horror, like 4-episode miniseries of Torres, just mutilating his body, sewing metal wings on, and becoming the new Falcon.
Reminds me of X-Men Apocalypse, right? Horrible.
Mick, do you think this is the introduction to the new Torres Falcon, or is this just like a nod to things that happened in the comics, and maybe we don't get a new Falcon, or maybe Sam doesn't stay as Captain America and he goes back to being Falcon, or any of the above?
I think with what we're getting into for the rest of the episode, it's going to be Sam who's Captain America. I mean, I think that's a logical choice. But he's going to keep the wings, of course, like he does. I think Torres was a good nod, but could bring him back if they do more of this show down the line. But yeah, I think it's very much going to be just like sort of like his wingman has his own pack.
Is a wingman. I see what you did there. But Torres, he has shown interest, right? Because I think in the very first episode when Red Wing, was that his little drone's name, Jordan? Red Wing?
Yeah, Red Wing. Yeah.
Something like that. When it's like all busted up and, Torres is asking about it and all that stuff. So they keep, egging us on here with this Torres and Falcon thing. But
which we never got to see Red Wing again, have we, since?
I don't think
it's a little sad.
We haven't,
Yeah.
I also don't know why I made that face, but I guess apparently that's what I do when I think, which doesn't happen very often. So, but yeah, so we move on, and we're in the Senate committee hearing for John Walker, where he is answering to his crime. And the government, they strip him of his military / Captain America title and authority. Walker, tries to talk his way out of it and justify his actions, but, he gets shut down pretty quickly. And kind of like I started, talking about at the very start of the episode, in no way am I condoning what Walker did, because that's obviously terrible whenever you brutally smash someone's face in with a vibranium shield. But the scene is kind of a little heartbreaking, because if you take out this super soldier serum rage, potential PTSD episode that John Walker had, just it kind of has some commentary on the way that veterans are kind of treated and handled after their service. For all that we've seen in the show, John Walker is a very decorated military member. He's served a bunch, he has a ton of medals and honors, and for him to kind of just be thrown to the garbage after a mistake, granted his mistake was very awful, but I don't know, I mean, you kind of feel bad a little bit, at least a little piece of you, for maybe veterans, not specifically John Walker. But I don't know if you guys kind of looked into that as much as I did or not, but yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that Sam was really right when he said that if you stop this now, maybe they'll take your past service into consideration.
Yeah,
he landed that on the nose.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was the escalation that was threatened with? He was threatened with. It was court-martial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're not court-martialing you because taking your service into account.
Yeah. I think it made a lot of sense, and maybe that happened because of a certain character that shows up right afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some strings being pulled with that. I guess no way to know for sure, but I get the feeling what happens in episode 6 is probably they're not going to care anymore. It'll get to a point to where he'll probably be locked up.
Yeah, and we see here he continues to like not like refuse to give up the title of Captain America, because I think he even says again like, I'm Captain America. But sorry, were you about to say something, Mick? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Well, I think I don't know that he'll be the big bad at the end of this, but there's definitely one. There needs to be a fight between him and the newly formed Captain America, Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson, that's somebody who has to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we haven't gotten towards the end yet. I don't want to give anything away while we're still going, but like that, that's the logical conclusion, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense for sure. But yeah, Walker, he just kind of, gets fed up and just storms out of the hearing. And we have a scene here in the like hallway of the whatever building they're in, or he's talking to his wife, I'm assuming, and she's like trying to comfort him, like they don't know like what it means to be Captain America. He says, I think something like that. And a new character, a new challenger arrives. I shouldn't say challenger, but a new character arrives. And I think this is the perfect time for our Marvel comic origin segment. So Jordan, please inform us on Contessa, Valentina, Allegra de Fontaine, please.
It's always such an epic intro to characters that are just, kind of sideless characters. But,
yeah, it was like 3 sentences after an introduction like that.
every time we get into this part, I'm just like, I'm still not used to it. Contessa, this character showing up is, I did not see it coming. Obviously, we didn't talk about this character at all, right?
Yeah.
But the character itself, she was created by Jim Steranko, and Jim Steranko he has a big foothold in revamping Nick Fury, and so having her come in this way is good in a couple ways, because where you always see Nick Fury as like the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., Contessa has always been kind of an entity along with S.H.I.E.L.D. She's been known as Agent 14. They actually have always called her Val at times in the comics. They kind of hinted to that in the TV show. One of her most famous aliases in the comics is Madam Hydra. And I'm sure a lot of people are mentioning that. And I actually had one person kind of mention that it's, she's barely ever Madam Hydra, but that's literally the coolest arc of the character. But anyway, she appeared in the 1967, I think, Strange Tales 159. And since then, she's, again, been a S.H.I.E.L.D. character. She's rolled through a lot of things. One of the great things she's done in the comics earlier on is work with, I actually had to write this down here, the Armed Forces Paranormal Response. It's basically a British intelligence force in Marvel Comics, and you get into a lot of work with Captain Britain, Union Jack, and one of my favorite characters, Pete Wisdom. And there's a lot of places you can go with that character because of that. But also in the comics, she has kind of she has a really close relationship with Agent Carter. They have a team called the Femme Fatals or something like that. And Sharon Carter is Agent 13, and obviously she's Agent 14. So it's kind of like a dual comic. So she kind of floats in and out of a lot of comics, but she has a kind of a stalwart position it's like throughout anything Shield's really involved with. And when she became Madam Hydra, it was kind of a undercover situation. It was very short lived, but I really wish she was really that evil and was really that character. But that's really the biggest part of Contessa in the comics thus far.
So coming down to brass tacks, she's a good team.
Yeah. I think she'll kind of play the role of Nick Fury in this.
Okay.
As you know, like Nick Fury is kind of like the U.S. version, the leader of Shield. We kind of saw Shield get kind of destroyed in the whole Winter Soldier being infiltrated by Hydra. So she probably represents a different branch of Shield and a leader of Shield, and maybe different countries, or maybe working with Thunderbolt Ross for a certain initiative.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Bringing on more of the Thunderbolts.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Do you think that a possible connection to Sword, since Sword is being heavily introduced?
Possibly. That's are you talking this? Silver Samurai actually is a couple things that could connect to him too. But yeah, the Sword, yeah, like I can see that.
Let's see. None of those sound like 10 Rings, so I'm not interested.
Yeah. Moving on.
Anyways, no, but thank you for the explanation, because I have no idea who this character is. So I was, rather perplexed. I was like, I don't know what to think of this Val. Should I be excited? Should I be worried? I don't know.
I think she'll be the Amanda Waller of the Marvel Universe.
Okay. So like technically a good guy, but kind of like a scumbag.
And
yeah.
It makes sense that they would get Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Like that's like with Torres, you could be like, is this a nod or is this actually going to be a character?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, it's most likely a nod because you don't know the guy. But
Right.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus joining up them, it's kind of like, no, she'll be back.
Yeah.
This is definitely the only episode she'll ever appear in the MCU for sure.
Yeah. I get the feeling we'll see her in the maybe after credits of the next episode.
Yes. Which, hey, we'll get there, but I've been waiting all series for this. We finally got a post-credit scene. WandaVision kind of spoiled us with basically giving us half the season or half the series with post-credit scenes. So, but yeah, so she comes out. I totally forgot that we didn't even actually talk about the scene that she was in, just about her. But she comes down, she talks to John Walker, and she introduces herself and basically shows some vague support for him and tries to recruit him for something. She knows that he's taken the serum and, says that because of that, he's, valuable, very valuable to certain people. And I got to say, her business card idea, like best business card ever. I think I might adopt that. Just, white on one side, black on the other, no information. I mean, that's just a boss move, handing someone a blank business card.
It's like the Joker handing you the Joker card, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got Joshua Rogers in here. Amanda Waller equals Carol Baskin. Hard to argue with that. So, yeah, it'll be exciting to see, what comes of Contessa there. And, yeah, like Mick said, you don't pull in an actress like that and just use her for a quick 2-minute scene and then never revisit that character ever again. So, moving on, we come to Carly and the Flag Smasher crew. They are back in one of the GRC camps. I'm assuming it's the same camp that we've kind of been in the entire series so far. And they find out that it's empty and that it's been shut down for aiding and abetting international fugitives. So this, of course, really ticks off Carly. She kind of loses it, and she says, the movement's ready. They're not going to stop us. They're not going to stop. Not unless we make them. It's time for what?
Doesn't sound totalitarian at all, does it?
No, not at all. I'm going to assume it's not for a picnic, that's for sure.
Right. But
Which we find out what it's time for at the end of the episode. But yeah, she's fed up. She's ready to go. She's had enough, hiding in the shadows, I guess, so to speak. She's ready to kind of take the fight to, the man, I guess, stick it to the man. But yeah, what
did we skip over? Oh, no, that was next. Okay, sorry. I thought we skipped over the Isaiah Bradley scene. So my apologies.
Oh, yeah. No. That's coming. We got quite a bit to talk about there. But
what do you take some heat over that one, skipping that?
Yeah. Yeah. I would be proving Isaiah 1,000% right.
Oh, no, I just thought I didn't know if it happened right before. I knew we'd get to it. That's like such an important scene.
And that is exactly why Isaiah Bradley is so angry. But no, what do you guys... if only Jordan was taking a drink there, that would have been the one. Yeah. But I don't know. What do you guys think is going to transpire here in the next episode with the Flag Smashers? I mean, we'll get to what happens at the very end of the episode, but are we assuming that like the big conflict, we have Sam versus John Walker as an option, which I think is justified and should happen in some way. But we also have the Flag Smashers and Carly out there, causing a ruckus that they're going to need dealt with, obviously. And, she's recruited some friends that we find out about later. But then also we have the power broker that we still haven't officially confirmed who it is, though we know who it is, and I'm sad about it. But like we have these three, major conflicts still up in the air, and we only have one episode left. So like, is the last episode going to be like 20 minutes Flag Smashers, 20 minutes learning about the power broker, and then 20 minutes Sam and John Walker fighting? Or like, what do you guys think is going to happen with the Flag Smashers in the next episode?
Dr. Doom is going to show up and just be a fourth antagonist.
There you go. Actually, none of these get solved. It's just
exactly
they just introduce one more.
They have to consolidate something out of this, right? The only explanation is that the power broker is also behind the Flag Smashers agenda, maybe to get more people to realize that the world needs certain, superpowered people to handle these situations. Like I said a couple of times in the comics, John Walker existed alongside Steve Rogers, so he would use the Flag Smasher, or he would not use the Flag Smasher, but create some chaos to make Captain America look bad. So there has to be some kind of agenda kind of pulling this all together, because I feel like whatever is manipulating the Flag Smashers to be doing what they're doing, that also might be part of what they're trying to get John Walker to get involved with or run parallel with it. And they don't even know they're running parallel together. There has to be some like ultimate end game to it. And I'm probably still going to run with the theory that Thunderbolt Ross is the power broker, handing out all this stuff, leading to the Thunderbolts in the future. But we'll see. I don't know.
What about you, Mick? You got any theories?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all going to tie together well. I think we are going to find out that it's not who we think it is, who is the power broker. I think it's so heavily hinted on that it's almost like it's not. It's almost clear enough to not be that. Like somebody else is going to be introduced that she's working directly for him.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they'll tie it up well. I think it's just going to be chaos in New York City. They go after the GRC, of course. Sam and Bucky have to go to save the day. Everything's going to be in chaos. I think John Walker's going to go there thinking he's Cap, with his pretty shield.
Yes.
Go stop the Flag Smashers. I think it's going to come to a head, and it's going to end up with John Walker finally turning and saying, "All right, you think you're Captain America? Oh, here we go."
If you haven't been paying attention all series, Sam, I'm Captain America. I've said it like 30 times.
But yeah, I think it's going to be. Oh, sorry, I was going to say. I think it's going to be Bucky that needs to talk Carly down, because he understands the super soldier serum. He understands becoming something darker than what you are, being a villain, I think it's going to have to be him to connect with her, or at the very least end up having to kill her.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's going to be his way of sort of making amends, or however, like overcoming something.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's going to propel John Walker and Sam to have to fight for Captain America.
Nice. I like it. I can definitely see all of that happening. Before we move on, can I just ask, after 13 years of New York City just getting annihilated after like catastrophe, terrorist, like what have you in the MCU, like why does anyone live there? Why?
It's outrageous.
Like, it is very well documented that city is not a safe place in this universe. Like,
yeah, at this point, worse than Gotham, right?
Yeah, like come on, guys. Geez. But yeah, I like all that, and I can't wait to see what happens here in episode 6. They have a lot to tie up, and I'm looking forward to see how they do it. But we leave the GRC camp, and we're back in Sokovia. And we find out where Zemo, flushed himself away to. He is chilling at the memorial, it looks like. And, Bucky strolls up and, Zemo comforts Bucky saying Zemo's not going to kill Bucky. I'm not going to kill you. And he talks about, how radicalized Carly is now. And, basically saying what he's been saying the whole time. She's beyond saving. You're going to have to do, you're going to have to kill her. That's the only way that, this is going to be solved. And he begs Bucky to do what needs to be done, because he knows Sam won't cross that line. And Bucky pulls out a gun and gets Zemo to surrender. Ao comes with her rowdy girl squad from Wakanda, and they come and they scoop Zemo up and take him away. So first off, Ao says that they're going to take him to the raft and where he will live out his days, and then warns Bucky that it would be wise for him to make himself scarce in Wakanda for the time being, which it's pretty cool. So remind me what the raft is exactly.
It's a prison.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I'm right.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually, and this was intriguing to me because now we know Zemo's going to the raft, and who runs the raft in the cinematic universe is Thunderbolt.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be where all of the Thunderbolts are collected.
Yeah, kind of like Belarus, right? And
it's going to be Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. See, guys, just even more reason you need to listen to these companion series, because I have people much smarter than myself, like Jordan and Mick, telling us all these crazy things that are going to happen in the MCU, and you want to be that person in your group of friends that's like, hey guys, in like 3 years there's going to be a Thunderbolts movie, just watch. And they're going to think you're crazy, and then when it happens you're going to feel vindication, and it's all because of people like Jordan and Mick.
But I think if I could speculate just a little bit more, I think that's where John Walker will end up too.
Absolutely.
And from what I understand, spoilers, I don't know this for a fact, Black Widow is going to set up the Thunderbolts even more in some way. So I think that's why they're happy it's kind of coming out after.
Interesting. What's really funny too is in the companion series, you can really see what comic books I was investing in early on when we were talking about this. Like in the episode 0, I was like, I'll go on here, see if I can check back issues. And, it's kind of a nice, if you're a comic book investor, it's really good to, check out series like these, and maybe a couple other ones too, to get the idea and see what theory fits, whatever, you as an investor in comic books, should jump on early on.
Right. Yeah. Cause a seemingly, mundane book might just skyrocket because all of a sudden now it's a part of the MCU, and maybe this character made his first appearance in this comic or whatever. For sure, 100%. But back to the scene here with Zemo. Is this so? This, you guys already answered my question I had written down, but this is not going to be the last time we see Zemo.
Absolutely not.
And do you think that he will have any part in Black Panther 2 at all? Since, you know, he's being taken by the Wakandans. Do you think, even if it's a small part, do you think we will see him pop up in the Black Panther sequel at all?
No, I think it's going to be the raft. Just go straight to that.
You don't think they're going to take him back to Wakanda at all to kind of like answer for, you know, what he did in Civil War with, you know, killing T'Chaka? T'Chaka or T'Challa? I don't remember which one is which.
He's T'Challa.
T'Challa, yeah. T'Chaka is, what's his name?
Boseman?
Boseman, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But you know, because the first, you know, time that AO appeared, she was like, you know, he's got to answer for what he did, you know, and so I didn't know if that would involve them then, since they have him in their possession, taking him back to Wakanda before, you know, sticking him on the raft. Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. You don't know. But I love how Zemo tells Bucky that he took the liberty to cross his name out of Bucky's book.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, you know, I don't hold any grudge, you know, buddy, you know, for what you thought you had to do. But I just went ahead and just took my name out of there for you.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I enjoyed Zemo's character throughout this series, and like just the fact that they're setting him up to be what seems to be an important player in some point in the MCU down the road, because admittedly, I don't know anything about Marvel Comics. So when he made his appearance in Civil War, I didn't really understand the character he is in the comics. So with Jordan explaining how, you know, important and integral of a character he is in the Captain America stories, you know, it's cool to see that they're kind of continuing him on in the MCU in some capacity.
He's arguably the best character in the show. You know, it's crazy. Like everything he's done is just, every time he's on screen, it's very entertaining.
Yes, many gifts, that's for sure. Which, by the way, I said I would use that GIF for everything, and I have. Just so I like work chats, work emails, texts, you name it, that GIF has made an appearance. But yes, so AO takes him away, and before the Wakandans leave, Bucky asks for one more favor, and we will find out what that is later on. But here is what you're talking about, Mick. We finally are at the scene where Sam takes his trip out to Baltimore to visit Isaiah Bradley. And he has quite the chat with him about Isaiah's past and the legacy of the Shield and all that entails. So first off, just going to throw this out there. I am not going to try to pretend to understand either point of view here from Sam or Isaiah, because, of course, I am not a black man, so I have no frame of reference. But you can definitely sympathize with both sides, because there are two sides here. Isaiah obviously is very, I don't know if this is the correct term, but like jaded. He's hurt. He's very bitter, and he holds a grudge because obviously he was treated like terribly and had very awful things done to him, and a lot of that had to do with his race at the time that all this stuff was happening to him. We're not in the best place today with racial tension, but I would posit that probably we're a lot better off today than we were back then when all this stuff was happening to Isaiah. So, his story is heartbreaking. And on the other side of the coin, Sam, because he is a lot younger than Isaiah, hasn't gone through the same exact struggles that Isaiah has in his lifetime. While, he lives in the South, and we all know the South is not exactly the most tolerant and accepting place to be sometimes. Now, I'm not saying that all Southerners are terrible people or racist or anything. But Sam knows what it's like to live in those types of environments, right? He's from the deep South. But he still is hopeful, in a way. Thinks, again, he's channeling his inner Steve Rogers. Like to me, he's trying to see like the best in people, I think. Like, at least that's kind of what I'm seeing between this conversation here. But yeah, Mick, what were you like thinking and seeing and hearing in this scene, which was super powerful and pretty heavy?
Well, if we're getting into that, just to kind of touch on something you just said, I don't think he's trying to channel Steve Rogers. I think this is who he is. He's Steve Rogers. He is Steve Rogers without the super soldier serum, but he has a black perspective.
Yeah. I think I chose the wrong word. I don't mean like he's trying to like be Steve Rogers, but like his inner Steve, whatever Steve Rogers is, like
I think he
also lives in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's inspired by Steve Rogers, but it's the same reason like why Steve gave the shield to him and said, "You are Captain America," is because you have the same values I do. You have the same outlook. You don't want to hurt anybody. You want to help people if you can. And I think that's what we're seeing with Isaiah, and we're seeing with Sam in this scene is Isaiah very clearly does not have the same outlook. And I mean, as a white man watching this, I'm learning so much just from the scene of these characters, these two black men discussing it, and Isaiah's whole story, and the fact that he went to jail for 30 years for the same exact crime that Steve Rogers did. He broke rank. He went AWOL to save these men who were being tested on by the Nazis. He did the same exact thing. The only difference being these black men, these black soldiers were being tested on by the American government, and he broke them out. So I mean, it mirrors what Steve Rogers did in the first movie, and then to be thrown in jail for 30 years, and all of those men were killed. And he had to live with that, and then be tested on for the 30. Like, there's no wonder he's holding it together way better than I think anyone actually could. And the whole scene is it's heart-wrenching, everything he says in it. And the fact that now even Sam's trying to give him the glimmer of hope, like, I know people now. And you do know that Sam is a well-known figure, but because of the whole bank situation in the beginning, it's like he doesn't really have the clout that I think he thinks he does, or that he won't until he's actually Captain America and just takes it in a way. But I still love that as it goes on, even after this conversation, he's still not shaken. He believes in that core value of he needs to keep fighting. Yeah. And it actually, this whole conversation helped him to become what he becomes later on. Right.
What'd you think, Jordan?
I think why this particular scene is going to be a staple for the MCU is, I guess, in a political sense, Captain America is a lot about politics, right? But this part's going to stand out a lot because you're kind of seeing somebody from who lived through the Jim Crow era have a conversation with somebody who hasn't lived through the Jim Crow era, and at least being an adult through the Jim Crow era. So to see that'll help level out, I think, Sam's idea of, a lot of things he was going through, thinking how bad things were. He realizes that they were worse. They were like measurably worse, and sees where it is now. The progression after obviously Jim Crow took its last breath in like 65 or 67. He sees that things are better, but they can become even better. So that kind of helps lay a path for, I think, what will be a little bit of a different Captain America. and it was. I mean, it was obviously a great scene. It was really cool. Having my grandfather served in World War II, and anytime I can listen to, I mean, I know it's just a TV show, but hearing like someone as like a veteran or whatever telling these stories, both the good and the bad, there's so much you can learn from it. And it was definitely a learning experience for anybody who doesn't understand. We actually mentioned in a previous episode, remember if we talked about the Tuskegee syphilis study that they did in 32 through 72. We mentioned that part of Isaiah Bradley's biggest torment he went through as a character was influenced by that. Mm-hmm. So to have the conversation about it is really cool, because the syphilis study, the Tuskegee syphilis study, wasn't. You don't really learn about that in school, but you should learn about that, because you can understand some of the bad things that were done, and some of the progress that has happened since then. And I think if more progress was observed, there'd probably be a little less tension between things, instead of always hearing about only the bad, which there is still bad. But let's talk about some of the good and the progress, and we can all be happy about. I think this scene really did that for Sam. Right, it really evolved him as a character to know what was, what is, and what could be.
Yeah. So. And kind of after Isaiah gets through telling his story, and exactly like Mick said, Sam's like, well, let's tell someone. Like, I know people. Like, we need to get this out there. And and Isaiah is like, no, I just want to like stay dead. Like, I don't want to be, because he even said in his story that a nurse faked his death, right, essentially. So he's kind of doesn't exist right now. And he's afraid that if his story gets out and it's revealed that he's still around, that he might be killed and things like that. And because he, I think, rightfully thinks that they wouldn't want his story to get out because it's really terrible, and like they don't want to be seen in that light, which totally makes sense. I couldn't help but think while the scene was playing out, like how cool it would have been to have, like, kind of as he's telling the story, like flashbacks to the young Isaiah Bradley, rescuing his friends or whatever, and getting to see like him in action, right? But then, the longer I thought about it, I was like, that would totally make what makes this scene so powerful. Like, it would just overlook everything, because like it's so tense, because they're sitting face to face, and you can see like the pain on Isaiah's face as he's talking about all of this stuff. And like that dude like knocked it out of the park in this scene, like tremendously acted. But like as much as I would love to see a flashback to a young Isaiah Bradley like doing his thing as a super soldier, that clearly wasn't the scene to overshadow the important dialogue and things that were actually happening in there.
I still want to see Isaiah Bradley versus Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
that was mentioned.
I would love to see that. Like, if they wanted to show that portion of it, but like last night, I watched it last night and I watched it today again. But so that's why I refer to it that way. But that, you're right. Like, you could not do a flashback, because everything he was saying is truly heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you flash back to that? Like it's kind of just like, this is going to be tough. I do love that they introduced Eli, so we might get Elijah Bradley down the line. So that kind of opens it up a little bit, but
yeah,
it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah. I think if they were to do the flashback scene, totally would have had to have been like when they first met Isaiah and that confrontation between him and, the Winter Soldier. That would have been dope.
During the first episode, in the credits, towards the end of the credits, there's kind of a newspaper article, and I really think that is Isaiah when he's younger, getting locked up. I don't know if you caught that at the end,
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they're at episode 1 at the very end of the credits, or close to the end. Again, it's it kind of shows like just this area, but it's yeah, that's kind of what led me to think that Isaiah would show up in the first place.
Nice.
That's
Look
awesome.
at you paying attention to the art in the credits. Man.
You know what? I haven't watched any credits since, so I don't know what I could be missing. I don't know what it is. I watched this one though, obviously, because you gave me a heads up.
Yeah, they snuck one in there on us. But after this scene, Sam heads back to Louisiana to kind of help Sarah get things back in order. This poor boat needs some serious loving. Sarah calls out that the real reason he's there is that he has no lead on Carly, and kind of asks what's going on there, and Sam's like, I don't really know where Carly is. Also, the government stepped in and they kind of benched us, so there's nothing I could do anyways. But we also kind of learn how cool Sarah is here, pitching in around the neighborhood, feeding some needy students at her kids' school. Pretty sweet. Love seeing that. We need more of that in our world, I would say. The helping hand for sure. But yeah, basically, Sarah tells Sam that they weren't able to sell the boat because there's just too much stuff wrong with it. And she's all stressed out because it costs a ton of money to fix it up, and they basically wouldn't make any money selling the boat, which leaves them in the same situation they're in now. So, of course, Sam swears he's going to get this boat fixed. And he starts calling in some favors from, family, friends that, his parents had helped out over the years. So you get a nice little, friendly community boat repairing montage. Started off with Bucky just lifting the engine or whatever, just like straight up out of the truck. Like, that was awesome. He slams down the Wakandan chest in the truck, and he's like, "Hey, got something for you, Sam." And then we just start repairing boats for a few minutes. I can't wait to see what's in that box, by the way.
I think I know.
You don't know what's in that box?
I mean, I can't wait to like literally see what it looks like in this show.
It's kryptonite.
Let's just put it this way: those wings
Wrong
are never
universe.
going to rip off again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Human centipede. No, I'm just kidding. Why do I keep going back to that? Oh, that's terrible.
That movie's horrible. It's so bad.
I know.
So bad.
I think the best part of this scene here is Bucky meets Sarah. And let me just say, you got to find someone who looks at you the way Bucky looks at Sarah. So adorable. But yeah, at the end of the lovely boat repair montage, we have like a little awkward conversation between Bucky and Sam. Hey, you got any leads on Carly? No, Torres is working on something though. Okay, well, Zemo says there's only one way. And then get that awkward look from Sam, like, I really don't want to kill like this teenage or early 20-year-old girl. But yeah, Bucky, says he wants to leave. Sam invites him to stay. He obliges. And, next we're at a scene here where John Walker is with the family of Lamar Hoskins, and he's, telling them what happened to their son. And I believe the dad asks him, like, so was that guy that you killed, was that the man that killed Lamar? And Walker, of course, lies through his teeth and says, of course it is. And at this point, like, I'm not sure, like, does Walker actually think he was? Like, has he convinced himself to, like, make himself feel better about what he did? Or is he just, like, knows he's lying and is in just, like, save face mode?
He's trying to give them a sense of comfort. And this is the dynamic of John Walker, right? Like, you really hate the guy, but there's a part of you that feels at times guilty for hating him because he tries in a weird manner try to do the right thing. He's just, it really tears you back and forth. Obviously, he's getting to the point to where you can just, he's doing more things to make you dislike him than like him, instead of just being like a pompous prick. He's
Mhm.
a pompous prick murderer, who's killing and fighting the main protagonists. But
Right.
so it's kind of reversed. So he seemed okay and was doing some bad things. Now he's doing a lot of bad things with some okay sprinkled in there. So it's, you can see the shift. But I think it was a white lie to comfort Lamar's parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it too, and like to what you said earlier, Mike, was like it's a perfect representation of how we treat the military after they're done, and just the fact that he needs help, and like Sam represents that help because he did that for so long, like to try and help reacclimate so many military personnel. But John Walker is that always went through. He was a hero. He never felt like a hero. He just felt like he was doing his job. And like, that's what Cap was supposed to be. And now he's like, it's completely shifting out of his control because, the super soldier serum, like you said, like power makes you more of who you are. Like more of who he is get the job done, at any cost. Like, whereas with Steve, it was like, I don't want to kill anybody. He's a good man,
Right.
So, and it kind of you detach that, and to say it in a way that's like, military doesn't make you a good man, but it definitely, like, this is something that we need to look at with these military personnel and helping them reacclimate and come back, where they can re-enter society, or you're just going to leave them out like this,
right? Then we're just gonna have a bunch of U.S. agents on our hands.
Yeah.
Just keep them away from shields.
Probably more like a bunch of flag smashers.
As long as they're not face smashers, I guess.
Yeah.
I love that Marvel's doing this, is that it's not shying away from real events in the world today.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that kind of often gets swept under the rug and overlooked when it comes to like the military stuff, social commentary, really. So yeah, kudos to you, Marvel, tackling some societal issues, just all of them in the same series. But yeah, so I see what you guys are saying, but part of me thinks like due to Walker's like complete like flip to insanity, like I want to feel like he truly believes that like he didn't do anything wrong because the person he killed was the person that killed Lamar. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that he's accepted that he in fact was not the person who killed Lamar. You know what I mean?
I think he needed to be, and you think for him,
yeah,
needed to be that he killed Lamar.
Right. Yeah, exactly. To justify his own actions. But yeah, Lamar's sister did not, or I'm assuming it was his sister. I don't know who it was, but the younger lady in the room did not look like she was buying anything that Walker was saying that entire conversation. And ironically, after the scene ends and Walker, leaves the little shop that they're in, he walks past the John Walker Captain America's back poster, just like adding insult to injury there. He's just.
Well, I can't wait till we get to this after credit scene.
I know, man. That was so cool. But here we are, our obligatory Sharon Carter doing villainous things scene. Here we have her talking on the phone to an angry Frenchman, which I didn't realize that it was Batroc until I was watching with my headphones on and the closed captioning came on and they just said that it was him. But yeah, she's talking to our buddy George and she promises to give him double this time. So she hired him in the first episode to do whatever he was doing there. What are you up to, Sharon Carter? Why are you like this? Why are you Breaking Bad here? But yeah, so are you guys on the same page as me here where she is responsible for hiring George in the first episode with his encounter with Sam to capture that agent, or do you think maybe this is an unrelated thing that she hired George Batroc for? What did you make of this conversation here?
I mean, I take it as like, why wouldn't she hate? Why wouldn't she be on the side of the Flag Smashers? Her country did her dirty, and so she's obviously still pissed off about it. So and I'm not saying that she's a Flag Smasher, but that chaos can break some stuff up and taking down the GRC, and and did she blip out during Thanos's thing? Do we know for sure, or did they ever say it?
I don't think, because I think that's the whole reason that she went to Madripoor, because she was still like a fugitive for helping them get the shield back way back when. So I think if she right. So I think if she would have blipped out, I don't think also I don't remember exactly how close this show takes place to the return of everyone. But like she's pretty established in Madripoor as this like art slinger, right? So I would assume that she's been around this whole time.
Yeah.
Right, Jordan? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's there's no reason to believe that she disappeared, because she has way too much history accumulated right now to think she was gone for 5 years.
Good point. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it makes total sense, like having her be the way she is right now. Just part of me is just like, I just really want you to be a good guy because I like this character. You know what I mean? I don't want her to turn to the dark side. But yeah, this scene seemingly seems to confirm that she probably is the power broker. But are we just getting bonered again?
Power bonered.
That's right.
My theory is still that the power broker is power boner. That's why they call us the show boys.
That's right. We're here bringing you all the hard hitting commentary.
I'm still holding on to hope that it's Dr. Doom is the power broker. I just am. They have him back now. It'd be interesting to see him start as the power broker with such, to be that strong and to be like have his mitts and everything. And then eventually that's going to be his origin into however they introduce Fantastic Four.
And truth be told, with Madripoor, being in Singapore and all the different locations that they're talking about, you can assume that when the world became kind of one world nation, when the blip happened, when it became no longer a one world nation and borders started getting realigned, there were probably some new countries that formed out of that just naturally. That's a perfect case for Latveria to form, if you ask me. So that could be.
Yeah, and that's where they are, isn't it? The Flag Smashers are hiding out. Weren't they hiding out there?
Were they in Latveria?
I thought so. Latvia. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah.
Starts with an L, ends in a ia, so whatever. Man. But yeah, so I'm still holding out hope that the post credit scene next episode.
Is the Mandarin?
We just see the Mandarin talking on the phone with Sharon with some rings just lined up right here.
It just goes by each knuckle. Right?
Yeah.
The Sharon situation. When they introduce the Thunderbolts, I'm sorry, if they introduce the Thunderbolts, I'm a little sure of myself now. Humble myself. So when they do that, the Thunderbolts, they've either had just complete trash team members or an A-list team member list, like Punisher and Hulk and Elektra when they're all together. So I think if they are to reintroduce the Thunderbolts in the MCU, you'll have U.S. Agent, you'll have Baron Zemo, maybe being the brains behind the whole thing. Maybe Smiling Tiger will come in. But I really think this is an opportunity for Sharon Carter to finally be a criminal, be arrested, and have Agent 13 utilize Agent 14 on her new team. that's a another possibility.
Yeah, it all makes sense for sure. Excuse me. I just want to take this moment to shout out our new sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. I wish we had a sponsor. But if you are Zevia, if you're listening to me, this is the second one I've had today.
Or Tito's.
Yes.
Vodka.
This is a very nice soda replacement if you're looking for one. If you need the carbonation and the flavor of a cream soda, but don't want the loads of sugar and the caffeine, grab yourself basically a LaCroix cream soda. Anyways.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd really like to talk about
yes,
America Cola.
America's water.
John Walker Cola. Cap is back.
Yes. But yeah, well, we want money, so please sponsor us.
Mick, I have to ask, being a toy collector, what Captain America figures do you have? There's a pop and
the pop, and then this is my son got this for me. It's heavy as hell.
Nice.
It's like I don't know, iron. I don't
the like metal cast stuff.
Yeah, like cast metal.
Yeah,
I like it.
It was pretty legit. Like when he gave it to me, I was like, "This is awesome!" Like,
yeah, and can I see the pop real quick? Which is that like the?
Absolutely, that's the what do you call it? Unicorn.
Looks like it looks like a Secret Wars almost with the.
Yeah, I think
or MCU. MCU might be MCU.
This is MCU, but this is the Winter Soldier when he gets his suit back.
Gotcha.
Very nice.
I hate Marvel pops drive me crazy because they'll have the bobblehead.
Yeah, it's the licensing thing.
Every time I see a really cool one, I'm like, I want to get it. Then I'm like, wait, I forgot.
Same with the Star Wars ones. Like
That's
this whole bottom shelf up there is just loaded with Star Wars pops, and they're all bobbleheads.
All of them up there, they're all bobbleheads. So like I'll go past sometimes and just like hit them all.
Well, one more question, totally off subject. Have they made a wedge? And I can Google this, but I'm going to ask you guys: have they made a Wedge Antilles Funko Pop figure yet?
If they haven't,
I mean, I would assume. Come on, they have Funkos for everything.
He is my favorite Star Wars character of all time, and that's the one Star Wars Funko Pop I'll buy.
I actually, to continue, I love Funko Pops, and I will talk about them all day.
Funkoverse.
Yes, I picked up the Rick and Morty expansion for Funkoverse yesterday, and the Game of Thrones set for a total of $13 on deepdiscounts.com. Deep discounts if you're looking for a podcast to sponsor. We will totally plug you every episode. Just give me money. But yes, $13. So I mean, can't beat that. The box sets alone are like $40.
Absolutely. And Funkoverse, and I know you haven't played yet, Mike. We should hang out one day and play, which sounds totally dorky, but the game is so good.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it. Mick will have to drive all the way up here, but you're totally invited to play board games with us if you would like.
Love board games so much.
I did pick up, though originally I was going to say I picked up a cool like First Order Stormtrooper, a white one, and then a Sith Jet Trooper with a red suit. So I'm like really excited to throw those up on the shelf. But anyways, this is not the Funko Companion series as much as I wish it was.
One last thing. I swear it's the last thing. With board games, going with Marvel. Walmart has an exclusive game right now called Marvel United. And it's real easy to play. It's easy for your family to play with you. And it's cooperative. And one of the cool things about it is it comes with 6 major Avengers. And it's kind of like a chibi character version. So it's a miniature cooperative game. And it really allows you to, fight 3 different villains in kind of fun, dynamic ways. That's another really good game to play if you love Marvel stuff. So
awesome. Love board games and other nerdy things to do. So thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. Moving on in the episode, where did we leave off here? Okay, so we get to the Sam and Bucky. I like to call this the father-son chat, where Sam is the father and Bucky is the son. They're playing a nice game of shield catch there in the backyard. And if Bucky apologizes to Sam, about not understanding Sam's position when, Steve and like he had the conversation about giving him the shield, and then when Steve gave him the shield, not understanding the position that's going to put Sam in. He also says that what happened with John Walker and that whole Captain America disaster was not Sam's fault. And said when Sam retired the shield, Bucky felt like he had nothing left. That shield was like the last link to like his family, and it made him question himself, made him question Steve, and made him question Sam. And Sam's like, well, Steve's gone, so where did he go? So that's my first question. Is he really on the moon? Like,
he's on the moon with
did
the
he die?
Dogecoin.
Yeah, he rode Dogecoin all the way to the moon.
Oh,
Torres was right. But no, we talked about this in episode 0, though. Like, is he dead now, or has he just not been like revealed to the public like after his time travel shenanigans, or like what?
Are you talking about Doge? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
He's back. He's back.
Nice.
No, I think they need to just let us know what the hell happened to Steve Rogers, so they can. They're probably just messing with us, honestly.
Yeah.
I think he'll be back in some fashion. I don't know that it will be in this show, but I will say, I think for them it was just meant he's gone. He's retired. He's just done.
Yeah. Because we had talked about that. Like, I wonder if even the Avengers know, like, if he came back, right? Outside, well, obviously Sam and Bucky know because they had that conversation there. But like, Sam then proceeds to tell Bucky that he needs to stop looking to other people to tell him who he is. And, he gives him some tough love. He says, instead of amending, these relationships and issues with these people in your book, you're avenging. And, instead of that, instead of telling these people sorry to make yourself feel better, you need to make these people feel better, be of service to them, provide closure. And Bucky's like, well, there's like a million people that I need to do that to. And Sam's like, well, just start with one. So could Bucky be making his return, to what's that guy's name from earlier on in the series? The father of the man that Bucky killed in his nightmare scene. Maybe he may be making a return there to provide closure finally to that father.
I think that's what will put him in New York.
This guy, it's making a lot of sense over here.
To me, the reason that this was such an important scene is because finally we get Bucky opening up and realizing, like, and not realizing that he comes to realization. But he finally admits to it, like, I didn't realize like what this meant to you. I was like, how could I, as a black man, or Steve, know what this weight would be on you? And he's apologizing for that, something he's never done to anyone. It made an apology. He wants to show all of this change. And I think for Sam, that was the moment, because Sam tries to help everyone he can help. But for the most part, like, he's always tried to help soldiers, but he never tried to help Bucky in a way that's like, because he has this knowledge. He can use that tough love. He has in some way worked as a therapist almost to all of these soldiers, but he's never tried to connect with Bucky in that way.
Yeah.
So when Bucky finally made amends to him in a way that was like, I'm sorry, I understand why you didn't now. I'll never understand your perspective, but I understand why you did it, and I'm sorry that I gave you so much, because it wasn't your fault.
Right.
I think that was the opening for Sam to say, here's some tough love, but now I'm doing it as if a form of respect. I respect you enough to try and help you. And I think that's why when they walk away from each other this time, it's legitimately as friends.
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah. Bucky has kind of given Sam quite a bit of guff all series long about giving up the shield. So it was really nice to see him, have this conversation. Jordan, do you have any thoughts on this whole scene here?
I think Mick did a really good job kind of summarizing it. I think that the tone of both of these characters at this point really shows you what each of them would be if they were Captain America, I think. The type of sentiment they would have as the Captain America. You still, when Bucky was Captain America in the comics, he became Captain America after Steve Rogers, so before Sam. He was kind of a hybrid, honestly, of the U.S. agent and Steve Rogers. He wielded a pistol at times. He had a more of a metallic look to his suit, and he was in like black type pants, like jet black pants, and he had his little rough around the edges, but he still had the right sentiment to be Captain America. So to again get back to the point is you really see the mix of who both these characters would be going forward as Captain America. And I think it's an important scene in that aspect because a lot of people like myself who love the Bucky character and enjoyed his time as Captain America, it's cool to see him, catch a shield and do it with ease and see it naturally go to him. But to see the softening of who he would be, which, by the way, had he been like this at the end of Endgame, Steve may have chose him, right? He may have thought he was ready for it, but it was obviously Sam to take the mantle of it.
Yeah.
So that's just how I saw it.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to see that character growth from Bucky because we've seen him make strides, with more of the mental health aspect of his whole trauma of being the Winter Soldier, but then to be able to make that apology to Sam and then be able to hear Sam, tell him you need to figure out who you are yourself, right? You can't depend on other people to do that for you. And I think that was a very important thing for him to hear too. But yeah, I don't care what anyone says. This entire scene made me think of a father and son playing catch, with a baseball or something, but instead they're using the Captain America shield.
I can see it.
But yeah, the boys, they're back. They're back together. They leave this scene, on good terms, even though, they kind of don't want to admit it. They have a little banter about, not being a team, not being partners, but being friends and a team and partners. And then Bucky, does what he does all episode and leaves. And we're back to some more boat fixing. But we get another cool and what I think is a very important moment for Sam's character here in his conversation with his sister Sarah. They're getting ready to put the final, paint touch-ups on the boat before they sell it. And Sarah, says they can't sell the boat. Sam is elated. He's so excited. And he gives a speech here about how, this boat is piece of their family history. And it's, almost kind of exactly what Bucky was talking about in a way. Now that I'm talking about it, is this is the last piece of their family, right? Which is exactly what Bucky was just saying about the shield, which is kind of funny. But how he grew up, wanting to prove everyone wrong about, his family and his people, and how he wanted to change the world. And, Sarah might have seen that in him as him running away from their problems or their family or whatever. And Sarah's no, I never saw it that way. You always did what you could to make things right. But this is kind of him confirming what we had talked about with his conversation with Isaiah, where he's he is that hopeful. He has that hopeful outlook, and he's not ready to give up that fight to change the world, right? Mm-hmm. And be the better man. So it was just really cool to see, because at the end of his conversation with Isaiah, he looks down, right? Because that was a downer of a conversation, right?
Mhm.
So you could tell
Absolutely.
maybe he was struggling with, that feeling of, still being Captain America, right? But here he confirms that, like, it's still worth fighting for, and he can still make a difference and make that change. But yeah, enter Sam and his shield training montage. There are a lot of montages in this episode.
No 80s songs, unfortunately.
Yeah, but definitely all like early 2000s Law and Order, like SVU styled songs.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn that guitar lick that they play in the credits, and that's going to be my warm up every time I play anywhere. Anyways, do you guys have anything to say with that little scene there before we move on?
I thought it was just an amazing montage, really.
Yes. Lots
good.
of running, lots of sweaty Sam trying to catch a shield. But we end here the episode with, actually, we don't end on this scene, but we have Carly and her Flag Smasher crew just kind of chilling in the park. And wouldn't you know, our pal George walks right on up, and he's carrying a case full of goodies for Carly. And I love in this scene how, like, the one what appears to be like her right hand guy, right, the guy with the longer black hair, he is like appalled that they're working with Batroc, and they're like, oh, so what, we're just gonna work with criminals now? And I love how she's like, have you not seen anything we've done like this entire series? But
I just but like, you almost broke some dude's back in like the first episode.
Yeah. Did you forget when you were sitting in the car when I blew that building up full of people? But I do love this guy, like, because obviously in that episode, like, he was appalled that they just blew up a building, right? Rightfully so. But he's still like hasn't got the memo that they're not great people, right? They're not doing great things. But, Carly, she reveals her plan that they're going to stop the GRC vote, and, they're going to use our pal George here to help them in their goal. But Batroc, he is quick to point out that he does not want to be part of this movement. He just wants to kill the Falcon. And Carly says that he'll get his chance. And, her buddy's like, well, what are we going to, just us three? We don't have any people to help us or whatever. And she gets out her handy dandy terrorist app and pushes send, and all of her terrorist buddies in the park get the notification, and they're like, all right, let's go terrorize. Again, like, terrorist apps, come on.
What app are they using?
Like, they must have some like crazy black market terrorist phone network or something. But yeah, the Flag Smashers, they raid this voting session, and they, take the room hostage and cut scene. So is this kind of what you guys were expecting to happen with the Flag Smashers here? What do you think about the partnering up with Batroc and all of that fun stuff?
I think it's a small example of what I was saying, like how it's all going to consolidate into, a lot of people who think they're acting on their own may not be, and some know they're working together, obviously. Because when we think about it, you have Sharon Carter, who is talking to Batroc. Batroc's talking to the Flag Smashers. It's obviously all just starting to run closer together. The only wild card is obviously John Walker. Will he be there to, he'll probably obviously be there to stop them. He didn't like him in the first place. But it's in the voting area when they're, what were they saying? Like one people, one nation or something.
Yeah.
Like
he leans over after he scans his card, and he's like, one people, one world. And then they're like, all right, let's go time.
Yeah. Which I was waiting for, the screen to go crazy and maybe have my fingers crossed for it for either, Contessa to maybe be Madam Hydra or something like that on there, kind of talking about something, or even the Zola algorithm coming back. That'd be kind of cool, something creepy like that, but didn't happen. So see what happens.
What'd you think, Mick?
It's pretty straightforward. Create some chaos for the end to come up, and I wasn't didn't love it, didn't hate it. And I was like, but I'm ready for it for whatever happens in the next one.
I was because I didn't quite pick up that in Sharon's phone conversation, like the guy on the other end was yelling in French, and I don't normally watch with closed captions on my first watch through. So when Batroc like walked up, I was like, oh hey, he's back, sweet. I was wondering if he was going to make another appearance. But yeah, I like the idea of Contessa or something showing up on the screen there. Particularly maybe the guy who played the Mandarin in Iron Man 2. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, is the show
I'll let it die. I'll let it die.
I can't hear about the Mandarin anymore.
It must live on. I will speak it into existence. But yeah, the episode actually ends with Sam staring at the Wakandan case, and he cracks it open, and I was like almost expecting a Pulp Fiction like red and blue glow coming out of the suitcase. But I can't wait to see what the contents actually look like next episode. We had a post-credit scene, so we are treated with John Walker doing his best Tony Stark impression, building his own U.S. agent shield in some destitute workshop. So yeah, Jordan, tell us about this scene. Like, what do we need to know about what's going on here?
Based on the colors that he was using, I think this will be his last act in denial of being Captain America. Also, he was screaming, "I'm Captain America." He still believes that, obviously. This is an aesthetic representation that he still believes it, I guess. Unless if he walks out in red, white, and black, it's going to be obviously he accepts himself as a different entity. But it looks like he was in red, white, or he was spray painting red, white, and blue. Which actually, fun fact, the title of this episode was Truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Isaiah Bradley, when we did his origin, we talked about what comic he first appeared in 2003, and it was actually called Truth, Red, White, and Black. So that was kind of I didn't plan that or anything, but I really think that this will be his last attempt to be Captain America, and my guess is when he gets arrested at the end of this, he'll also be sent to the raft with Baron Zemo, and we'll see him later in the red, white, and black outfit.
Nice.
That'll be his Thunderbolt outfit.
I just very much want to see his dinky little shield get torn in half by the actual Cap shield.
Yes.
I think that would be truly amazing. Put John Walker in his place. It's going to be great.
Yes. I
think I'm the only one that likes John Walker.
Well, I like him. I do like him, but I just love that he's building his own little shield.
Oh yeah,
That will not stand up to a vibranium Captain.
No.
I also like how he like bedazzled it. It's like metal. It was looking a little weak though because he only had one. I heard he had 3 medals. I only saw one on there. Maybe the other 2 will make their appearance. I don't know.
I was thinking maybe it was Lamar's medal.
Ooh,
I don't know.
A little tribute to his fallen friend. That actually.
Yeah. And also, Mick, we were talking about this in one of the other episodes during Endgame and everything. The Captain America's shield got destroyed by Thanos. So this shield came from a different timeline. So we were wondering, is it still going to actually be vibranium? There's a lot of different Captain America shields. And we were kind of talking and joking about what if it is the form of adamantium that Captain America had for a while, adamantium steel. Obviously, we were talking, or Kevin Feige's looking, like listening to this, and he's like, "I don't know, just stop thinking about it."
You've done this to yourself, Kevin. Okay.
But it's one of the things we talked about. It's kind of interesting. So, but you're right. It's either way. It doesn't matter if it's adamantium or vibranium. It's going to rip right through it. So,
I think the only thing I could think of is probably still vibranium. It's probably just straight up made from the Wakandans after, Endgame. Like they saw his shield get torn up, and because look how quickly they put something together. Just
right. Yeah, they have a whole China set made out of it. Like the plates that they serve at dinner.
At this point, it's just like, okay, everybody, let's just make up a quick shield for him, and then so I could see that, or old man Steve, before he shows up on that bench, shows up and is like, "Hey, T'Chaka, can I get a new shield?
Yeah.
I gotta get it by somebody." Something like that.
Man. So this episode just basically poured gasoline on top of the fire of things that needed resolved. So this next episode is going to be crazy. We've kind of already briefly talked about what we think is going to happen, but pretty much in summary, I think we're all in agreement that we're going to have some crazy three-way triangle of confrontation in New York here between the Flag Smashers, Sam and John Walker, and the power broker of some sort, whatever that is going to look like. So yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. I'm sad we only have one episode left, but I will say I'm really digging the limited series, and I hope that they stick to these truly being limited series and not adding other seasons down the road. I like these as little filler things of story. I think filler is the wrong word because they're not filler. They're action packed with a lot of great storytelling.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the limited nature of it in between the theatrical releases. Right?
Yeah, they act as medians almost.
Yeah. And I think was it you, Mick, that was talking about this on one of your shows? That it's cool to see. I had talked about this, I think, with Jordan on episode 0, and then when we had our friends from A Bite Of on, we were talking about this with WandaVision. But just getting to see these side characters, in air quotes, in the MCU get some real deep storytelling in these series. Because obviously Scarlet Witch is not a side character, and Winter Soldier is not a side character, but in the MCU, they don't get much screen time. They're, maybe show up in a movie for 15, 30 minutes of screen time. So there's not much development there. But with WandaVision and now Falcon and Winter Soldier, we've got to, see these characters really grow and evolve in front of us and become what we're assuming probably going to be major players here in Phase 4. So, I'm just excited to see what happens with everything that they're setting up between these two series. But I think that wraps up our episode here. So thank you so much for joining us, Mick.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you want to let everyone know where you're from, where they can find you, what you do?
TheSceneSnobs.com. I am the Scene Snob. If you go off to TheSceneSnobs.com, we have tons of shows on our network, but I host the Scene Snobs podcast, which is live Tuesdays every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. And BTB podcast is a discussion panel show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. live. And, I have an interview show, some other things going on. But, for the most part, just head over to TheSceneSnobs.com. You can check out all our shows.
Yes. I love what you guys do over there, and it's been really cool seeing you grow over the last couple months, adding show after show after show. It's been awesome. I enjoy listening to the Tuesday night Scene Snobs podcast. Actually, it's very fun, interactive, and I just want to throw this out there. You also have started a very prestigious podcasting award show called the Snobbies. We can't let that just get swept under the rug.
Yeah, I actually saw that, but I haven't dug into it. What is the Snobbies?
So the Snobby Awards we started this year. So it started a couple months ago. It was an idea of mine. It was kind of when it started, it was a FU to the Academy Award because they're always nominating movies that I'm like, like you're not picking up on what people are really enjoying. And I was like, and you're shining no light or love on any of them. And it's all a social issue. Nothing is ever, which I'm fine with, but it's you pick these movies based on what you think a popular social issue will make Hollywood look good. So I was just kind of like, all right, well, screw them. And I was like, but I'm not a filmmaker anymore. I was like, what am I going to do? Have a filmmaking award? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to honor independent podcasters because they're killing it right now, and they've kept everybody entertained during COVID. So I started the Snobby Awards, and basically anybody could submit, and then we have a panel of judges that went through and listened to 2 episodes each from every show that submitted. They ranked them on different, we had different aspects for them to rank on, and they gave their notes and they gave their recommendations for what categories. When we all convened, and then we did some math and made it and figured it out, and then had all the nominees put in different categories. So April 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern, we will be live with the Snobby Awards, and it's definitely interesting. And the Show Boys, of course, are nominated. So congratulations.
That's
Very
awesome.
honored. Thank you so much. I can't believe that actually happened. So
What category?
The greatest podcast in the entire world ever. I think we were, one of 2 nominees for that category.
That was for sure, definitely the
one. No, I think it was best audio in podcasting or something like that.
Which don't sneeze at, because that is a hell of an award. That was one I made sure to put in there. Production value and audio are so important to me.
No, I appreciate that because I'm also a musician and like do a lot of recording and stuff, and obviously with the podcast. So the audio end of things is very important to me. So I was pretty thrilled, actually.
Your show is very. I will give some insider information because I don't pick the nominees in the categories. I have a judges panel that does that. I just start figuring out the math and the rankings later. You guys were submitted for many categories. It's just that we only allow 6.
Nice.
And it was just the rankings and just kind of how the averages worked out. But
that's awesome.
You were very highly spoken of from the judges. So.
Thank you. That means a lot because we have no idea what we're doing here. We're just trying to have fun talking about stuff that we would talk about off podcast, but we're just broadcasting it out there to the world.
That is so true.
And it's hilarious though, because like we actually did an interview with the Podcasters Collective, which I think comes out May 1st, just about the show or whatever. And one of the questions that was asked, they were like, if there was something you wish you knew more about before starting your podcasting journey, like what would it be? And I was just like, actually, like learning how to mix and do audio quality just a little bit better, because I feel like we could be better in that area. And then like the next day you had the nominees and I was like, what are the odds? Of course, that's the category we get nominated for.
You don't have to be much better.
But yeah, make sure you guys tune into that. Make sure you tune into. I mean, these guys have a show at basically every hour of every day of the week. That's almost a true statement.
I'm not on them all. I promise.
Yes. But yeah, thank you again for joining us. Tonight was a blast. It was really fun to dig into this episode. It was a huge one. Jordan, as always, thank you so much for guiding us in our comic discussions. And I just want to let you, listener, know that next week is sadly the finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, which means even more sadly, it is the finale of the Falcon and Winter Soldier companion series. So be sure to join us. Tune in next week. We will be joined by the other half of the Scene Snobs podcast. Casey Plott himself will be joining us to discuss and break down and console me when I am finally, my 10 Rings theory is confirmed to just not be a thing ever. I will need all the consoling I can get.
And I will tell you, because you did invite me on for that, and I was like, no, I want Casey's time to shine. The thing I love about that is Casey's favorite hero from before he was in the movies, before in Winter Soldier, has always been the Falcon.
Oh, nice.
Casey was in the Air Force, and he had this connection with the Falcon, who was Air Force.
I'll have to ask him about that next week. That'll be fun. Oh, randomly, I know we're wrapping up, but when we were talking about the Isaiah scene in particular, this episode, the entire time I was like, man, this would have been a really cool episode to have the Blurticorn. Did I say his name right?
Yes. Yeah.
This would have been a cool episode to have him on. He's been a reoccurring guest on your show, and he is everything I've heard him talk about on your show has just been a joy to listen to, because he is like so passionate about all of this stuff, and I'm sure he would have had a lot to say about everything that happened in this episode. It would have been really cool to get his perspective on it.
I'll definitely introduce you guys, because I think you guys would have a great time when you show the show.
I am so sad that I just thought of that now and not like yesterday. But yeah. We'll wrap up for real this time, guys. You can check out all our Showboys links anywhere you can get our content at linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. If you haven't yet, please join our Discord. It's probably the best place that you can interact with us, the Showboys, and other listeners of the podcast. We have channels upon channels of every different topic you could probably think of, and there's a conversation happening all the time about gaming, what we're watching, memes, anything you can think of. We've had some really cool people in there just talking away about everything that they love. There's also a few perks for being a member of our Discord. One, you can have access to the unlisted episode links to our Thursday night shows before they release on Mondays. And for our newscast, you can have access to the giant spreadsheet of all the articles we compile for our newscast, but cannot fit into the episode itself. So go ahead, join up the Discord. We hope to see you there and continue on the conversation. But that is it for us tonight. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you on Thursday. Have a great evening.